Hey everyone, Humphrey here, back with another Router Gods video. Today we're going to talk about something interesting that I saw in our Discord. So Router Gods has a very active Discord, and we have a member who has been interviewing candidates for a position. And this person says they've run into one of the candidates who listed every tech under the sun on their resume, but when they came into the interview, they basically didn't really know it. So what are we talking about here? We're talking about people on the resume, and you've probably seen it before, where they have a skills section that lists like TCP/IP, BGP, OSPF, blah, 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 blah. It just keeps going and going and going. And when you actually bring them in for an interview and you ask them, well, you listed this routing protocol on your resume. Let's talk about it. And they're, oh, well, I know about it, I read about it, but I've never configured it. So what's the policy here? What's the best practice? What should you do as a job candidate in terms of listing your skills? Pretty easy. If you've configured it at your job, so let's say you've been working for the past 3 years as a network engineer, and you have set up BGP on routers because it's an ISP, the service provider, whatever, right? But you've actually set up BGP. Then yes, obviously you should be listing BGP in the skills section of your resume. No brainer, right? But let's talk about another thing we run into quite a bit, MPLS, right? MPLS. So you read about MPLS, cool, right? And maybe at work you've done a couple show commands for MPLS, but you've never actually set it up. Right? It's been set up for you, and you know like 2 show commands for MPLS. And if you don't know what MPLS is, don't worry about it. You replace it with whatever routing protocol you're familiar with. Right? So you've read about it, you've done a couple show commands, but you've never configured it. Do you put that on your resume? No, you don't. You don't know. You've never configured it from scratch, and that's another good point. Is if you've configured it from zero, like it wasn't on the router, it wasn't on the computer, then you can list it. VMware, right? So if you've configured VMware from scratch on bare metal, and you've put vSphere on it, and you've tweaked all the settings, then yeah, you can list it. But what if the VMware has already been installed and you administer it? Right? You go into the vCenter or whatever it's called, vSphere, vCenter. I forget. It's been years since I've touched VMware. And you know how to administer it. You know how to spin up servers, or you know how to spin up VMs, you know how to clone, make images, that type of stuff, snapshot, you know how to do that. Well, then what can you list? Well, you can't just list down like installing VMware, right? You can't just make it that broad. But what you could say is VMware administration. I've never installed it, but I administer it, and then it would be helpful to say how many hosts you've administered over. It's been 20 Dell Optiplexes, Server Edge, or whatever they call their servers these days, Power Edge, I think it's called. 20 whatever and 500 VMs in this data center. That would be a fair statement, right? So be careful in listing too many technologies on your resume, because we meaning the job interviewers, we will pick up on that. List them if you've configured them from scratch. List them if you have extensive knowledge, but do not list a skill if you just read about it. That's terrible. Don't do that. And it's very easy to find out. All right, Humphrey here with another Router Gods video. Stay tuned for more. Stay safe, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.